listen, for a half of football, Ben Johnson, it looked exactly like he did in Detroit. There was wide open space. There was every drop back provided the QB with answers. I thought that Caleb Williams missed some reads that Ben Johnson had dialed up for him that would have led to even more big plays in the first half. Probably missed a dagger shot or two. And it was the defense that really failed to close the book on JJ McCarthy. And
yeah,
so
I don't know. I'm concerned.
you're concerned
with
about
Caleb. I'm concerned.
you are?
What I was excited about, that was it the Monday night? Was it Monday night that they played the Bill, or no, was it Sunday night? I can't remember. Like when they played the Bills in preseason, whatever night of the week it was. That game, what got me so excited about watching that game was how fast Caleb was playing. I still don't think he's playing very fast. I still think he's holding the ball, and he missed high a bunch, which to me is a signal of a young quarterback who isn't really sure of what he's seeing, where like, if you're not really sure and you're not really ripping it, sometimes like, I think the ball can sail on you a little bit. I don't know. I mean, you didn't see that? Like, you didn't think he was holding it too? Because that was what excited me about the preseason game against the Bills, is he was going out there and he was ripping it and he was sure of what he was seeing, and it looked like he was playing on time. And like, that was actually what I really liked about JJ in that game, was like, he was able to compartmentalize everything, but then he came back in the fourth quarter of that game and he was playing fast and on time. And I don't know if I saw that with Caleb. Not the way that, I mean, Jared Goff, that's a high bar. The guy sees it really fast, and he's been in the league for almost a decade. But, it didn't look like the offense was moving smoothly enough.
So I thought that a lot of his pocket movement was superfluous, right? Caleb Williams, like a lot of it was. And we saw there was that one game where Thomas Brown, I think it was Thomas Brown's first game as OC last year, where he just all of a sudden got the ball out in 2.1 seconds, after a whole year of holding the ball for like 4.5 seconds. And he looked awesome. And I think that there's a middle ground there because you have that movement ability. You can do the Ben Roethlisberger thing. You can move a little bit if you get more on the back end of it, right?
Here's the thing. Like, I think they have to, and this is just my opinion, and I would say the same thing. Like I thought Caleb and Drake May, there were some similarities in the way that they played this weekend, right? And what I'm saying with both of them is I don't know that both of them are there to the point where they can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you see like the stripe and the helmet move. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they're there. So like, I think you have to, if you're coaching them, if you're Ben Johnson in Chicago and you're Josh McDaniels in New England, because I think both of them are, I just think they're not there yet, right? Like to do what Josh wants his quarterback to do what Ben wants his quarterback to do. I think you have to be realistic when you're looking at them and empower them with their athleticism. And what I mean by that is, I think you have to come to a point with these guys where it's like, look, if your first read's not there, you have the green light. You know what I mean? Like, so instead of them standing there back there and patting the ball and holding the ball for 3 seconds and then panicking and deciding to go, like, if they just aren't seeing it fast enough, they can kind of go, okay, I'm going to go, and I'm not saying run, but then, you can break the pocket. You can turn it into a scramble drill. This is what I thought Kansas City and Buffalo did really well early in their careers with Mahomes and Allen, is they used their athleticism to buy them time to develop. Like, those guys had the green light to go make a play if they weren't totally sure of what they saw in front of them. And what that did with both those guys, who were obviously enormously physically gifted, was it bought those guys time to develop, where there wouldn't be these confidence crushing downs where they're holding it back there for 3 seconds and then they're running around like a chicken with its head cut off, trying to avoid the rusher that got through.
Yeah.
I just think like there's like this piece of, like, I talked about this with LaFleur, right? It's meeting your quarterback where he's at. And if you're coaching Drake May or you're coaching Caleb Williams, are you giving them enough license to go be an athlete? Because I don't think either of them are there. Like, the evidence shows, at least right now, that neither of them are there yet to play quarterback in that way. And that's okay, because they both came from, I think they both were somewhat raw coming out of college. And look, in year 2 for Josh Allen and for Patrick Mahomes, those guys did a lot of the off schedule stuff. So I think finding a way to develop them within the offense and get them to do what you want them to do, but still while still giving them license to go be an athlete and do that decisively, like not like 3 seconds in, I'm patting the ball. Oh God, what do I do? To like, okay, like I'm not as sure on this one, so I'm just going to go. Giving them the license to do that, I think can be a really powerful thing and can actually help to expedite the development because they're not losing their confidence with what's being called.
On the flip side, we have the Detroit Lions, and here's all I'm going to say. Dan Campbell has had a good nose for when to make changes, and he has had a quick hook with his coaching staff. I mean, Aubrey Pleasant was in kind of a bigger defensive role at one point, and then he was gone. Anthony Lynn was the offensive coordinator of this team.
Are you firing Johnny Morton now?
No. Here's what I'm saying. Week 1, Tanner Engstrand looked awesome with the Jets. And Tanner Engstrand was kind of the other body in that room, right?
Yep.
Tanner Engstrand, Scotty Montgomery, Johnny Morton. Take your pick of these 3 guys to be the offensive coordinator. I don't know how much of a process there was in making that decision because, as soon as Aaron Glenn leaves, Tanner Engstrand goes, okay. He knew that's what was going to happen. And, Dan Campbell and Johnny Morton go way back. But let's just say that this thing doesn't look right again.
Yep.
And it's the Ben Johnson Bowl, and it just looks the way that it does. Do you think, because Dan is such a good coach, but do you think that we begin to just ask questions about that process?
Well, I think yes, I think it's fair to ask those questions. I also think, like to your point about Dan having a quick hook a couple of years ago with Anthony Lynn and going to Ben Johnson. I don't know if this is the right
knew
word.
What he had in Ben,
I don't know if this is the right word for it, but I do think like Dan, because he was an ex-player, has this like covenant with his players, which is like, I am responsible for doing whatever is best for you.
Right.
And like, I do think that that's part of why he gets such great buy-in is because all of those players believe that he is doing whatever he feels like is best for them to get them to perform at the highest level individually and as a team. And it sounds like a simple thing, but not everybody operates that way,
Yep.
And I think Dan has always had a really good feel for that. I remember having this conversation with Jared Goff. This was 2 summers ago. And I asked Jared Goff about Dan's emotional intelligence. And Jared's like face lit up and he was like, it's the best I've ever been around.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a guy who was around a pretty emotionally intelligent head coach in Los Angeles, even though it ended badly in Sean McVay. So there's a high bar there. I just think like Dan is as good as anybody at like understanding the pulse of his locker room, understanding the confidence of his players. And I don't think he'll let something that's going the wrong way drag on for too long because he'll know how his players feel about it. So that doesn't put Johnny Morton on the hot seat, but I do think you need to get better results than you got in week 1. And look, like here's the other part of it too, Conor. I talked like that Jerry Reese thing I talked about, right? Like with continuing to build the strength of your team. So much of the personality of the Lions and the identity of the Lions over the last few years flowed through what position group?
The offensive line.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And they rushed for under 50 yards. In fact, like when I talked to Jeff Hafley after the game on Sunday, the thing he was most proud of was the run defense.
Yeah.
They held them to I think 46 yards. And they did it like after losing Kenny Clark, right?
Yeah.
Like losing Kenny Clark less than 2 weeks before the season started. And with just a percentage of Micah Parsons out there. So like that's what I'm watching now is how does the offensive line bounce back? They paid and promoted to keep Hank Fraley on that staff. And Hank Fraley is a really important piece of that staff. And there's a lot on his plate now too, to be part of the answer here. And what does that offensive line look like now? what does Tate Ratledge look like? Do they consider at some point moving Tate Ratledge to center, which was the plan initially, because they're really feeling the loss of Frank Ragnow there? Or do they want the veteran in Graham Glasgow, who became the center when they moved Ratledge? There are lots of questions there. Now they still have the tackles, right? So they still have Decker and Sewell, who've been so good for them over the years. But what does that offensive line look like against the Bears defensive front that, like, I mean, for the most part, looked pretty good against the Vikings? Didn't work out in the end, but they looked pretty good against the Vikings.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I think this has one of those things that we could over narrativize, if that's a word, I don't even know. But
I think you
think
just added a word to the dictionary.
I think I just added a word to the canon. You're
I'm
welcome.
with you. I'm with
You're
you.
welcome, Merriam-Webster. But I think this is one that we will overreact to based on based on what's there. But man, a lot on Johnny Morton's plate for sure. A lot on Ben Johnson's plate. I mean, Ben Johnson too. I mean, and really quick, and then we're going to move on. I think I liked his approach post game, which was and this is a tough market. Chicago's a tough market, but to face some of the mistakes that he made head on. Yeah. There was a challenge that he thought he botched. There was not kicking the ball out of bounds at the end of that game, I think. And without throwing his kicker under the bus, probably saying, I thought he was going to get it out of the end zone, right? It's like, he's not one of those guys that is losing the room right now. And I think that that's important.